Michelle, this mic is all yours.
Hi, this is Susan Michelle. I am here in Western Massachusetts. It is great to be here as always. And I am the author of Surrender to Joy, From Suicide to Serenity. I teach the transformational truth of A Course in Miracles, which we are all here to study and to teach and to learn. And Regis has my book up in his square. Thank you so much. That's very thoughtful. Um, I want to invite anyone here to share with me. I see a square for Zulma and Dove Fishman and Regis. So please feel free to share with me because I always learn so much more when I talk about ACIM principles with other teachers slash students. So I think, as always, I will start out with the introduction of my book, which states, "My passion is God. God is love and joy and beauty. He is all that is good in the world. Everything else is our own miscreation. When we are filled with joy, we are connected to God. When we are not joyful, we have lost our connection to all that is real." This is my message. It can be clarified with three simple words: surrender to joy. There is nothing to find. All we need to do is surrender. So when I am filled with joy, when I am plugged into my God socket, when I am connected to peace, love, joy, and happiness, my vibratory frequency is higher, and God is much more able to get through because God is at an extremely high vibratory frequency. And when we go down into that rabbit hole, it's almost impossible to hear God's wisdom. So, what I try to do as much as possible is keep my frequency high so I can hear what God is there to tell me. And my day starts with a Course in Miracles lesson. Today's Course in Miracles lesson, according to the day of the year, is 96. Salvation comes from my one self. Today is the 96th day of 2024. Salvation comes from my one self. I still feel like if you get to the heart of any Course in Miracles lesson, you can really learn the lessons that A Course in Miracles is teaching. So I do my best to really not only intellectually understand the lesson, but I do my best to embody the lesson because the workbook lessons is about um, feeling the truth of A Course in Miracles, living, that's a better word, living the truth of A Course in Miracles. The Course in Miracles text is about intellectually understanding, which sets a foundation for living the teachings, but the Course in Miracles workbook lessons are really about living, embodying the truth. And that's what we need to do in order to transform our lives. Then, after I listened to a Course in Miracles lesson a couple times on YouTube by different teachers, I go into a 30-minute meditation. And in that meditation, I really feel light and I really feel joyful and I really feel connected to source energy. Then the challenge comes when I go into the world and life gives me triggers. Then the challenge is to stay centered in Christ, stay connected to source energy when life is challenging me. Uh, what I have been listening to lately is Michael Singer, the author of The Untethered Soul and a few other books. I've been listening to Michael Singer on Tony Robbins' podcasts, and I find that very informative, very enlightening. And I have been feeling as though he is relaying these truths that are extremely analogous to A Course in Miracles teachings. However, I have not heard him say that he's a Course in Miracles student. But I feel like, A Course in Miracles does not claim to be the only path to God. A Course in Miracles claims to be one clear path to God. It is my path to God, but there are so many other paths that work very well. And I think that what Michael Singer is teaching is really helping me. It's really helping me connect to that truth within myself. So, what I related the teachings of Michael Singer to was the introduction to A Course in Miracles. I mean, basically, um, the gist or some of what Michael Singer teaches is that in order to clear our channel, we need to release the blocks. He talks about how when life triggers us, it's not about blaming external events for those uncomfortable feelings. It's about uh, noticing when there are uncomfortable feelings coming up from within us. And instead of blaming circumstances, instead of blaming people, own the pain. And then what you'll find is the pain will dissipate and you'll get to that joy on the other side of the pain. This world is a classroom. We can't control the environment. The only thing we can do is when life is giving us a trigger, we see that it is an opportunity to learn. We see that it is an opportunity to grow. And what we can do is be grateful for our triggers that many Course in Miracles students say. Dove has said that numerous times, be grateful for our triggers, because what's happening is some unconscious pain point in our unconscious mind or our subconscious mind is coming up for healing purposes. And when we can own the pain, that pain point can dissolve and we can clear our channel and get closer to the joy on the other side of it. So here in A Course in Miracles, it says, this course, the course, does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. So, to the best of my knowledge, what A Course in Miracles is teaching us to do It's teaching us to identify the pain points when they come up. And by identifying them, we can actually own them. And by owning them, instead of blaming the world or blaming ourselves, by owning the pain, we can sit with the pain and then we can release the pain. And that's how we get closer to God, closer to love, closer to joy, because love is who and what we are. Like if we didn't have any pain points in our subconscious mind, all we would be is love. All we would be is God. And that is what enlightenment is. Enlightenment is just being connected to our true nature. So A Course in Miracles cannot teach us what we already are, because that's what we are. The only thing that A Course in Miracles can do is it can help us to identify the pain points. And so then we can learn to overcome those pain points or to transmute those pain points so we can get to the love on the other side. I mean, when things do not feel good on the inside, most of us will try to manipulate the outside to feel better. That's how most of us live our lives. When we're feeling uncomfortable on the inside, when we're feeling less than, when we're feeling unworthy, when we're feeling insecure, we'll try to do something in the external world to fill that perceived lack. However, it never, ever works. Even if we get what we think we want in the outside world, the effects are so transient. They simply don't work. What we need to do is when we are feeling uncomfortable, instead of trying to manipulate the outside, what we need to do is we need to learn to go within and find that connection with source energy first. So A Course in Miracles is mind training. It is basically giving us disciplines to follow so we can start living from the inside out as opposed to from the outside in. You know, when you really become dependent on external sources for your satisfaction, things are bound to fall apart at some point. And this is very apparent in numerous people's lives. You know, you can think of numerous people that got all the fame in the world, and ultimately life did not play out very well for them. You know, like Elvis Presley was just a super genius. He died at such a young age. Michael Jackson, Marilyn Monroe. There are so many stories about how people that they achieve everything they want in the external world, but because their foundation is not firm, life doesn't pan out the way everyone else would think that it should. So I guess what's key to remember is that, you know, when life triggers us, we need to to look at these triggers as blessings, because they're there to teach us a lesson. And when we can just slow down and sit with the pain, we will be able to transmute the pain and get to that joy on the other side. Now, my book, Surrender to Joy, starts out with a suicide attempt that I made 40 years ago. And when I think back to that really intense lesson that my soul needed to learn, it had to do with my unwillingness to embrace my pain. You know, my family felt very uncomfortable with any kind of uncomfortable emotions. My family felt very uncomfortable with any kind of painful emotions. So I was not taught how to sit with life's triggers. Anytime a trigger event would come up for me, I would never own the pain. I would just like push it down into my subconscious. So life would trigger me, I would push it down. Life would trigger me, it would push it down. And then I think what happened is I had so many pain points in my unconscious mind or my subconscious mind. I had no idea how to process this pain. I wouldn't allow myself to feel the pain. And because I was unwilling to feel the pain, I was completely disconnected from my joy. I had no connection to source energy or to God. So that's what led to my two suicide attempts. And, again, looking back on what happened 40 years ago, which I do think that was part of this life's journey. What happened 40 years ago is I didn't really want to kill myself. I just wanted to kill that pain. I wanted to get rid of the pain. And once I started coming out of that depression, I took the 6 bottles of sleeping pills. My experiences entailed me running into my parents' bedroom. And then I asked my parents to take me to the hospital to get my stomach pumped. First suicide attempt, my mom took me to the hospital. The second suicide attempt, my dad took me to the hospital. Both times my stomach was pumped and I was fine. The depression, however, lasted for a few years. And I think once I started coming out of the depression, I didn't find joy immediately. What actually came up for me when I came out of that depression is I started developing the willingness to own the pain with the help of a therapist. And once I was able to sit with that pain, I was able to also connect the joy. So, and then at that same point, I found A Course in Miracles, which is telling us that we need to be able to look at the darkness in order to get to the joy on the other side. In A Course in Miracles, the one paragraph that I love to recite is the escape from darkness. And what Christ writes here is the escape from darkness involves two stages. First, the recognition that darkness cannot hide. This step usually entails fear. Second, the recognition that there is nothing you want to hide, even if you could. This step brings escape from fear. When you have become willing to hide nothing, you will not only be willing to enter into communion, but will also understand peace and joy. So, again, most of us will live our life trying to appear together on the outside, but God does not want us to hide our insecurities. God does not want us to hide our darkness. God wants us to allow these insecurities to come up so he can help us to heal them. You know, sometimes when we look at different points in our life, the times in our life that look on the outside to be the messiest are the times that we are growing the most, the times that those are the times that we are growing in leaps and bounds. You know, we look at these times and we think, oh my goodness, what a mess. And God is looking at these times and he is applauding our courage. He is applauding our courage because we are allowing our heart to open. We are allowing our insecurities to surface. And only when God can see our insecurities can he help us to heal them. I mean, what is God? I mean, God is this source of unconditional love. God is the source that we are a part of. But in order to connect with him truly, we need to open our hearts and allow him to clear our channel. I mean, A Course in Miracles says that miracles are everyone's right, but purification is necessary first. And a big part of the purification process is allowing the darkness to come to the light so we can release it. Um, so going back to again where my book starts with my own suicide attempt from 40 years ago, what I didn't know how to do at the time was to own the pain. What I didn't know how to do is just to be fully present with myself, you know, and that's what I'm really learning to do now. I mean, my healing began when I started connecting to the darkness, even though the darkness was not who I am, because A Course in Miracles is telling us that only the love is real. The darkness was blocking my light. Just like A Course in Miracles says over and over again, the clouds are blocking the sun. That you have to be able to basically walk through the clouds to feel the warmth of the sun. You have to be able to let go of the clouds to feel the warmth of the sun. You need to be able to own your pain points in order to get to the love on the other side of them, you know. So basically just by again to give an example, you know, when you're being triggered by anything in life, you know, when you're riding down the road, and this happens to me just about every day, you know, you're riding down the road and the car in front of you is going 5 miles under the speed limit, and you're late to get to wherever you're going, and it's a double line, so you can't pass him. I mean, you basically have two choices or three choices. I guess the first choice is to get really, really angry. The second choice is just like block that anger, or maybe the third choice is just to like sit with the trigger, whatever that trigger might be, whatever that pain point might be. Instead of blaming the card, just say, okay, what is it within me that is just so angry right now, and release the trigger. you know I mean, that's something else in my own book that I quoted Michael Singer in The Untethered Soul. And maybe these he's writing about experiences that are bringing up uncomfortable emotions. Maybe this is a little more intense than the car on the road that is going too slow, but this is in my book. It is in chapter number 2, Sitting with Pain to Feel Our Joy. And I quote Michael Singer in The Untethered Soul. He writes, sometimes you will go through deep experiences that bring up intense pain inside of you. If it is in there, it is going to come up. If you have any wisdom, you will leave it alone and not try to change your life to avoid it. You will just relax and give it the space it needs to release and burn through you. You do not want this stuff inside your heart. To feel great love and freedom, to feel the presence of God within you, all of this stored pain must go. And that has always been the way my life works. After the times in my life that are the hardest, as long as I have the courage to really face that pain, I find that the next chapter of my life is just very joyful. And then I write here in my book, the next time you feel triggered by a negative event, allow yourself to sit with the feeling. You will want to stop, but instead of blaming someone else for your anger or sadness, sit and keep breathing. And that's something that Michael Singer really speaks about. Just kind of whenever we're feeling triggered, instead of like pushing the pain down, instead of keeping the darkness down, instead of keeping the darkness hidden, just sit with it, allow it to be. And you'll find that by owning the pain, you will release the pain and you will be closer to your true sense of joy. A friend of mine came up with the 4P process when triggers in life present themselves. The 4P starts with pause. Okay, when something in life happens, pause, then own the pain, then process the pain, and then pray and give it to God. And I think by kind of following those 4P steps, it doesn't necessarily have to be in that sequential order, but by just allowing our pain points to come to the surface, what's going to happen is that we're going to be able to release the pain and reconnect to the flow. And each time we reconnect to the flow, we're going to be able to connect to source energy on a deeper and deeper level. So life really is meant to be very beautiful. However, every single person that comes down to this earthly classroom has lessons that their soul needs to learn. And I am so grateful that A Course in Miracles is in my life to help me learn the lessons that my soul needs to learn. And on that note, I am going to end my talk today with the introduction of A Course in Miracles, which states, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And as we release our fear, we're going to get closer and closer to the joy and the love and the beauty. And we are going to really embody the fact that only the love is real. And God created us to extend his love to our brothers. So thank you. Thank you. Dove put a chat in the chat room. Thank you. Thank you, Dove. I love you all. And I will now return the microphone to Lynn. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Susan Michelle, and what a wonderful talk. I'm so glad you're here, and we will see you Monday.